Okay. Well, I think Mile Guo or your friends might have told you that our show was terminated last Monday without any prior notice. What makes it interesting and coincidence is that I wrote an article on my Facebook criticizing President Tsai and her chief secretary should either withdraw from the primary or go to jail for cheating in the primary. And also, I exposed the CEO of Formosa TV station was called to a secret meeting at the presidential office several days before my program was terminated. Some even speculated that the show was terminated because you mentioned that Taiwan needs a strong leader 3 times in my show. And I think this is a recommendation for Taiwan, but maybe President Tsai took it differently and found it offensive. Any comment?
Well, I would hope that that was, not the case, Dennis. I think it's very unfortunate. Obviously, your show was pulled in midair. People in Taiwan should know that people here in the United States know about Dennis's show and know that it's a real forum for freedom and sovereignty and democracy. So I hope that the show gets back on, and I hope things get worked out. I would also hope that President Tsai would not be, and I'm sure she's not, that sensitive to just an observation. I think it's very clear is that, this coming election, and I said this in New York City in the St. Regis Ballroom and on CNBC, that the most important election of 2020 is the presidential election in the United States. However, the year starts off with an election that's almost as important, and that's the presidential election in January of 2020 for the president of Taiwan. That is going to be one of the most important elections in the coming decade. And you're starting off the decade with, in January, the first year of it, in an incredibly important election, and that is about the future of independence, the future of sovereignty, the future of freedom for the people of Taiwan. So I hope President Tsai wouldn't take too much umbrage with the fact that I believe that the Taiwan people are going to need a decisive and strong leader in the coming year.
Okay. My next question for you is, someone like you who has extraordinary experiences in the media and also voted as 25 most influential in political news media in 2015. Have you ever experienced such treatment in a democratic society that respects freedom of speech?
The only thing I've ever seen, and it was unacceptable, was a live interview, not the show, but an interview of Miles Guo was pulled by the Voice of America Mandarin because Guo at the time was attacking HNA and Wan Xishan on facts that turned out later were absolutely correct. And it was a real black eye for the Mandarin service. It was a real black eye for them to do that. So no, it's extraordinary for something like this to happen. Look, I have been at the forefront, and I'm not shy in the United States about pushing back on the mainstream media, particularly as they attack President Trump and they attack the populist nationalist movement in the United States. I call them the opposition party media oftentimes, but I've never advocated for a show to be canceled. I think it actually makes us stronger when those shows are shown. So I would only tell the people of Taiwan, I think you need a diversity of opinion, but you certainly need those shows on the air that really back freedom, sovereignty, and democracy.
How the American media handle the tension between government and media, such as the CNN to Trump? Would Trump close the TV program or even call media CEO to White House for a secret meeting?
If President Trump had his choice, sometimes I think when he watches some of these shows like Morning Joe and some of the CNN lineup, I'm sure it goes through his mind. If I had my chance, he would pull it, but I know he just thinks that to himself. President Trump gives as good as he gets. He gets a lot of bad coverage. He gets a lot of unfair coverage. He gets a lot of nasty things said about him, a lot of unfair things, and quite frankly, a lot of lies. But he's very good at punching back. I happen to think with all that onslaught, it's actually made him a better president. It's made him a better leader. It's made him much tougher, and he was tough enough to start with. So no, I would find it very hard to believe they would call somebody into the White House for a secret meeting. It's not that President Trump's had the editors of the major newspapers. I think he had the editor or the owner of the New York Times not so long ago, and he's very upfront about what he tells them. I mean, he does not hide his feelings on what he feels is bad coverage by the media. But look, one of the backbones of a free society is a free media. I think the one thing the media should do, particularly in the United States, you have the media just attacking President Trump relentlessly, day in and day out, and sometimes it gets tiresome.
All right. Some prestigious organizations have tried to invite you to Taiwan after watching our show and knowing that you had a chance to visit Taiwan last month, but failed due to some political concerns. Now they are furious and determined to invite you to visit Taiwan again. Do you have any plan to visit Taiwan in the near future?
Well, not in the near future, but I hope to visit Taiwan sometime soon. You know, I have a great fondness for Taiwan as a naval officer. My ship used to pull in there many times. Right now, I'm getting ready to finish up some work here in Washington and to head over to Europe for the European parliamentary elections, which are very important. They'll be at the end of May. But I would certainly love to come to Taiwan sometime over the summer. I have a great fondness for Taiwan and a great love and affinity for the Taiwanese people. So I look forward to, at some point in time, getting over there. And Dennis, to do your show in studio, so we don't have to do it on these remotes. Actually, tonight, we're broadcasting live here from the Breitbart Embassy on Capitol Hill, and we're only a few yards from our nation's capital and from the Supreme Court. This is a very old historic house here in the heart of the political side of Washington, D.C., but I would love to come to Taiwan. I look forward to coming to Taiwan and seeing my many friends over there.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and support for Taiwan through the show, which is to protect Taiwan's freedom of speech and justice. And also hosted by the bravest man in Taiwan media history, and maybe the most hated host in Tsai administration. I will end our show with a quote from JFK. Do not pray for easy lives. Pray to be a stronger man. Thank you, Steve, so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, and good luck on your new show, sir.
Thank you.